All right, so I am here with Cobb, and we're going to be going over our top free-to-play mechs. I picked 5, he picked 5. He's going to be focused more on early game. I'm going to be focused more on long term. We did this with weapons over on Cobb's channel. Click the link at the top of the description to subscribe to him, and make sure to check that video out as soon as you're done here. But yeah, let's just get started with this. Cobb, why don't you start us off?
All right, man. All right. So coming at this from like a more early game point of view, I'm like 2.5 months in to my MechArena account. The first mech I got on my account, I mean, you get some early game stuff, that's fine. Stalker and what? Like the Ares. We talk like the earliest weeks of your account. Aegis. Right. First time I picked up Aegis on my account, dude, loaded that thing up with kind of any weapon really, but eventually the pod guns. Oh my god. Like, I felt like I was a raid boss. It feels to me like Aegis is the first real milestone mech that basically every beginner player has to be aiming for. And this is something that I learned from one of your videos, actually, RuFFles. Man, like, I've been watching all your videos to try and, like, learn what I can to sort of, like, pick the game up and stuff, you know?
Right.
One of the things you pointed out was, like, the stats, the HP and stuff like that for a mech kind of don't matter that much, not compared to how much the ability on the mech matters. And I think Aegis is like the epitome of that. The dome shield is basically impervious to death unless it gets like guardianed, like system crashed or something, obviously. But protection from all angles, almost unkillable shield. It's just ridiculous. Combine the Aegis mech with basically any of like the brawler style guns, whether it's like the pods or even just like cryo launchers or whatever. You're just gonna crack some cheeks. I don't know, man. This to me feels like the best super early game mech, man, that basically everybody's got to pick up, and it's an easy pick for me. This pick.
Oh yeah, so. Absolutely. When you get into tier 5, this should be like the top thing that you're working toward. It's one of the very few epic mechs that's actually like usable in the like absolute late game, like uppermost levels of late game. You won't see a lot of them, but it's very, very good. One of the things about the dome ability that's a little bit underrated, I actually think, is the fact that effects can't pass through it. So let's say a Surge or a Zephyr, especially a Surge that you're dealing with, the EMP goes off on one side of the dome, you won't be affected if you're on the other side of the dome. And that's very, very helpful. Because Aegis, even though it's pretty similar to Panther, one thing that Panther can't do is Aegis can actually, like, if you stand right at the edge of a dome when there's a Surge nearby, when a Surge is coming for you, stand right at the edge of your dome, it'll dash, it'll hit you, the hitboxes will be, like, just big enough to where the EMP will go off on the other side and you'll still be fine.
Oh my god.
At that point, it's just a fight based on raw stats, and the Aegis will win almost all the time, unless they have better mods or something like that. So it's like, it's actually legitimately, you can counter Surges with this thing, so long as you use the ability very, very carefully.
Yeah, my issue right now is I do my best to brawl with the Surges, but I don't have those like lower energy cost Revokers yet on my account, man. So oftentimes it's a Surge with the Revokers and they just kind of run over my entire hangar. And it's a struggle, man. The struggle's real, but
it's dealing with those can be a pain, and getting Revoker brawling isn't necessarily the best idea either. Which is basically what we talked about in your video on weapons. And you guys can hear a little bit more about that when you go watch his. But yeah, no, in general, Aegis is very solid. Absolute must-have in Tier 5. Okay, well, my first pick is going to be Eclipse. It is arguably the strongest mech in the entire game. Not based on raw stats, but again, like you said, the raw stats don't really matter. It's mostly the ability. Well, the only real stat that actually matters is the speed. Everything else is mostly just how effective the ability is. And Eclipse's ability is the most effective. It just is. There's basically nothing you can do to it to get an advantage over an Eclipse. Like, there's nothing you can do. You can't lock on because it has stealth. You can't even apply status effects because that's one of the perks of the ability. And that makes it impervious to most things that, you know, very much rely on having specific abilities. Now, obviously, you can still, like, just tank through it with raw HP. You could just with raw firepower as well. But you'd be surprised the number of mechs that fully rely on their abilities, and then Eclipse just comes in and just basically wipes the floor with them.
Yep, I guess I've been on the receiving end of an eclipse a fair few times. Kinda don't know what to do against it, and it seems from what you just said, there's no actual like concrete answer.
There
to an
is
eclipse
no
besides...
real counter except for just kind of throwing yourself at it and hoping the problem sorts itself out. I mean, like in terms of like build counters, one of the best builds is Deathwalker with any type of usually like Storm Rat or something with good damage output. But the reason Deathwalker is effective is because it'll brawl with it. They'll both probably die, except the Deathwalker teleports back and resurrects. And so it's, it's still fine, but the Eclipse is not. And that's like, to be honest, one of the only ways to even effectively deal with it. Otherwise, it's basically a guaranteed 1-for-1. Like, at best, you're getting 1 kill and still dying.
It's kind of terrified, man. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous. Now we're going to switch from Eclipse being the best free-to-play mech in the game, you'd say? Or not just the best free-to-play mech in the game, but probably the best mech in the game. My opinion, hands down, Eclipse is the best mech in the game overall. That's kind of at least it's free to play in a sense,
in the sense that if you want to spend 6 months grinding 8 coins.
I guess. But I mean, I guess now we're gonna go from Eclipse, was kind of interesting. We go from Eclipse to my pick, which is one of the most budget mechs in the game, which I mean you're only gonna use in the first couple months. Okay, let's be real. I'm gonna be replacing them soon. I swear. But of all of the rare mechs in the super early game, Stalker Mech got my account off to a really, really good start, man. I'll say that at least, in terms of just like super early game progression, when you're just getting started in the game, you get the Predator drive skill on the Stalker Mech and decent energy capacity on the little guy as well. And like I say, I even still get to use the Stalker Mech to this day. It's getting replaced very, very soon, but I still use it on my hangar to this day, like 2 or so months in, with Helix Rex. Because I can pop the Predator drive, I can stay nice and safe. I'm not getting poked down while I'm taking that extra 25% damage, but I'm benefiting from the extra 50% damage from the Predator drive. And I still get some decent Helix rack value, So the Stalker Mech in terms of super budget, like mega budget, at least has some pretty good longevity on them, compared to the likes of the Guardian, the Ares, and well, don't even bring up the Arachnos,
We don't talk about Arachnos here, yeah. I mean, like you said with Helix rack, but like really any weapon that's like that, just like any type of indirect fire, it's a good platform for those types of weapons because the damage boost obviously really helps that. The cooldown's not super long, the duration's not super long. It has the downside of really low HP, and also it takes more damage while the ability is active, but so long as you're using those weapons, it kind of doesn't matter. So in terms of like late game performance, Stalker is probably the best rare mech in terms of that. In terms of like what you'd realistically use in a late game hanger. Now I do think Tengu performs better individually, but there's just better mechs late game that kind of replace Tengu's playstyle. So in terms of that,
Tengu's tiny energy capacity terrifies me.
Exactly. Yeah. The ability is really good. You can actually get infinite stealth with that. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh no, I didn't actually know that. What the hell?
2 implants, you can get infinite stealth with a Tengu. It's got a really good ability, but yeah, I mean, like I said, it's more of like a brawler type thing, and there's just way better brawlers late game, so kind of no point.
Right.
All right, well, I'm just gonna go right next to Eclipse, which is Surge. I mean, these are the most 2 obvious best mechs in the game, just in general. Again, it's not even just like best free-to-play mech, it's just second best mech in general. For some people, it might even be better than Eclipse, but it's such a cheat code. It really is. Anything that's not an Eclipse basically guaranteed dies to this. Because the EMP is 4 seconds, which is the longest EMP time, unless you count Hemlock days, but it's technically different. But it's the longest base EMP duration, but you could also increase that with a ability duration implant, which you can't do for mechs like Bastion. The cooldown's just stupid. Look at this. It's 7 seconds. That's like one of the that's one of the shortest cooldowns in the entire game, 7 seconds. Along with it being a dash mech, meaning that it's super easy to use with insane DPS weapons like Revoker. And, it just gets stealth on top of that, just as like the cherry on top. It also gets stealth, so if anyone's trying to harass you with some type of guided weapon, you could just use your ability purely for the stealth. The HP's not great, but the speed's really good. The energy capacity is pretty decent as well. But yeah, it's essentially a cheat code to anything that's not an Eclipse or, for example, an Aegis that's played very well also for Lock Point. But there's very few counters to it, is what I'm saying, and it counters almost everything.
Yeah, I definitely feel that, man. And like you said, the stats, they just have to be good enough anyway for you to live to be able to spam that ability, right?
Exactly, exactly.
I mean, oh my God. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I don't know, man. I don't know what to do against Sage. Sage dashes in, you just kind of clench your butt cheeks and pray to God that it kills the guy beside you instead of you, you know? And then, like...
The only thing to do
anyway.
is just keep your distance. Like, that's the only option you have most of the time, is just you cannot allow it to get close. Most of the time, a Surge user will exclusively use close range weapons on it, which means that if you can get to a good spot where you can see them long before they're able to dash to you, you know, getting good angles to where you have a little bit of range on them, you could deal good damage before they even get to you. And that's about the best advice I got for in terms of countering Surge.
This is one I'm happy with, man. This is a damn good one. I don't know, man. I feel like Zephyr in T5.
Mm-hmm.
Zephyr feels great. Now, I will say that I got Zephyr at just the wrong time on my account. I picked him up and I tried, like, I thought, dude, I foolishly thought, oh man, close range mech, you know, I can shock pulse people and the Ember guns will do just fine, you know. No, they didn't, okay? It was a terrible idea.
Really.
Things just didn't die fast enough. Yeah, it was just a disaster, so I learned that lesson pretty quick. But now I've got the guy built up in, well, I kind of alternate the Storm Racks, like one Storm Rack 10, Missile Rack 6 on him. That seems to work a hell of a lot better, man. Somebody's rampaging around in one of my lobbies in a Dreadnought or something, you know, it's like, okay, dude, like the Zephyr's coming out now, you know, break out the Zephyr, just delete the crazy, super powerful mech that's just dominating the entire lobby, and then you get to go back to having fun, man. So the Zephyr's great. Any kind of smaller map, he just gets ridiculous value, like the radius of the shot pulse.
Oh yeah, especially in like 2v2. 2v2 maps are notoriously small, so you can get almost the entire map out of that, and it's very, very valuable.
And just hit and run. Yep.
Essentially, yeah.
Just hit and run with the little guy. And he only costs like 370k credits as well. Like super affordable too. So
yeah, it's the only mech in tier 5 to cost credits, and for that reason most people will get it anyway. But in general, it's really good. It's probably the only mech that can really effectively use Revoker, like at this stage of the game. So like if maybe you were passing it up for other reasons, I probably would get it just for that reason. Otherwise, like, it's not super great. Close range ability doesn't necessarily mean it's a good mech for close quarters combat, because super slow, super squishy. If you don't get the EMP off, or if, God forbid, you fire at them and they don't die, then you're kind of screwed, and there's nothing you can really do about it. Like, you can't really, what are you going to run away?
Run for your life.
Chicken legs with 18 kph, like, it's not going to happen.
Well, you got to try, you know? Cool little guy, man.
Okay, well, my third one then is going to be Nomad. I mean, there's just so many legendary scouts that are top meta. It really is. This basically completes the trifecta, as I have described in a previous video, the hate triangle of legendary mechs, of legendary scouts, I should say. There is a specific video that I made, kind of answers the question, you know, which one should you go for first, Surge or Eclipse? Depends on what kind of situation you're in, and I'll have that in a card at the top right. But in general, this is the weaker of the three, but it is still just disgusting. It has, again, a dash, so it's really good for closing distances. But on top of that, it's just ridiculously tanky. A 60% damage reduction while the ability is active. So for 3 seconds after you dash, you will take 60% less damage on a mech that's, you know, not particularly beefy in terms of base stats, but let's say you're a free-to-play player in like tier 5 or tier 6. They've got a legendary mech, which just inherently has better stats than yours do. And they're going around in free-for-all, chain dashing, everything. They dash toward one guy, one-shot him with the ability, immediately get their dash back, and dash toward the other, dash toward somebody else. Very, very difficult, especially in early stages of the game, to actually deal with this. I'm sure you've had some run-ins where this thing absolutely cleaned you up.
Oh yes, man. Dude, as early as like Gear Hub 4, I was like, what the hell, man? Like, what the hell is this thing? This guy's rolling around it. It's like a kill shot, but it's on steroids. I'm like, what the hell is this? You know, like when I was really brand new.
It's essentially unkillable, like, especially at that stage of the game.
Yeah.
It's essentially unkillable. Like, Zephyr is actually, that you just mentioned, Zephyr is one of your only options, realistically. Because you can EMP it for just enough time to where its resistance time actually runs out.
And then if the entire free-for-all lobby works together, you might kill it, you know?
Yeah, usually what ends up
Oh,
happening
man.
is some other guy kills you while you're trying to kill it instead, though, and it just everything goes to
There's some
crap.
kill horny guy goes for you, ruins it, yeah, wipes the raid,
Exactly.
so
I
to
know.
speak. Yeah,
Ruins
oh good.
everything. But yeah, no, it's super beefy. It's not necessary. It doesn't really have any like protection in the way that like Surge and Eclipse do. Surge can just EMP people, and even though Nomad's got the 60% resistance, it'll die much quicker than Surge. Like Surge EMPs enemies, and then they just can't fire back. Whereas a Nomad, regardless of what happens, eventually they'll will you down, right? Because you're still taking some amount of damage, even though it might be a small amount, but you'll still be some. But it's really, really effective for disrupting enemies, just kind of throwing yourself in there, doing a lot of damage. It can naturally counter an Eclipse as well. It's one of like the only things that can do that, just because of the raw firepower and the fact that Eclipse doesn't really have any inherent advantage over it. So
Just brute force it.
Exactly, yeah. Like I said, brute firepower or brute tankiness. That's the only thing that can really kill an Eclipse, and Nomad kind of has that.
Yeah. Oh, makes sense. Man, I tell you, going from these picks, like I'm getting whiplash, man, going all the way back in the gear up to the start for my little progression mechs, for when you're just getting started, man. I tell you what, I'm gonna throw this guy in here for like the ultimate final whiplash. Because again, these mechs are so cheap now after the huge price discount,
True.
It's great, like for brand new players. So starting a brand new account, the first mech I got on my new account, actually picked up from the hub, but actually made a real difference was Guardian. It's like one of the cheapest mechs in the game. It's very, very early gear hub. It's sort of whatever, But when you first get it, it's like, dude, I can just make anybody have to reload their guns at any time.
Yeah.
Like, I can just delete an Ares shield. Like, this is so OP, So when you're really brand new in the game, yeah, like Guardian, even just like fragment guns, like it's fine, even if you don't want to pick up like the early Ember guns or prioritize something else or whatever, even just fragment guns and a Guardian, you're gonna do just fine in free for all, man. And there's not that much to say about it. I kind of mentioned this is relevant on your account for super, super long. I'm already finding it's dropping off on my account already, but in terms of progression mechs, it's like a must use. It's gonna be like one of the cores, I think, of your account in the earliest months. So yeah, I think it's worth a shout out, man.
Very, very, very true. Before mods, it was even like usable late game, to be honest, just because the ability is so useful. It's so useful. The difference between this and Outlaw is essentially a legendary version of Guardian. But the problem with Outlaw is that it requires a target lock in order to, as well as line of sight, in order to actually use the ability. And as you might imagine, that basically disqualifies it from being able to do anything against Eclipse, anything against Surge, which are your two biggest problems. But unfortunately, with Revoker, Guardian's system crash doesn't really help you there. In fact, system crashing a Revoker actually does worse, because I think what happens is so long as you're holding down the trigger, their bolt, the one that's out currently, like when they're firing, if it's out of their weapon at the time, you system crash it, it stays out, but then their weapon gets reset. So then they have two bolts that are going back and forth. So you actually double their damage output after you system crash them, because I assume it's some type of bug, which, I mean, probably won't be addressed anytime soon, realistically. But basically what I'm trying to say, it's a really, really bad idea to system crash a Revoker enemy. System crashing a Nomad also. There's another bug that just gives Nomad the resistance that it gets after dashing. It's just granted that 3 seconds of resistance time after being system crashed.
Right, it counts as activating the skill, like in the coding of the game, I guess, right?
It's a bug. They've confirmed that it's a bug, but again, it's been a bug for a really long time. Realistically, they're probably not going to address it anytime soon. There's so many bugs in the game. But what the hell, even outside of that, just being able to, through walls or even toward multiple enemies, just be able to completely reset enemy abilities, enemy weapons. It's absolutely detrimental to anything with minigun. Like, it's just GG. Certain mechs really, really rely on their abilities being active, like Deathwalker. So it does have its uses. It does have its uses, even like in the later stages of the game. But it's definitely fallen off a lot.
I will say it did teach me the hard way what Revokers were. I'll put it that way as well. Like, that was a harsh lesson to learn, because I was like, oh man, this mech's so OP. I'm stomping around on my Guardian and free for all. I'm having a great time, And then suddenly, like, what the hell, did I miss my system crashing that guy? How was he still shooting me? You know what I mean? Like, I'd never seen a revoker before, man. I was so new. So that was a bad time, but yeah, that's a lesson you only have to learn once, you know?
Pretty quick wake-up call. Like, yeah, this doesn't really work anymore. My fourth pick is going to be Hemlock. Hemlock is ridiculous. With a single implant, you can fully lock down one enemy for the entire match. And I've done this on multiple occasions. You can literally, doesn't matter what you're using. I've used autocannon 2s and just slowly whittled down an enemy throughout the course of the entire match. So long as you use the ability right, you can just keep them still and just be an absolute nuisance. And for that reason, it's especially effective in 2v2, as you might imagine, because then it becomes a 2v1 if you're locking somebody down, and that's a major loss to your side of the to the enemy team, right? Losing half of your team that way. So it's one of the most toxic mechs in the entire game for sure, but it's also very popular endgame, very popular among the top meta players. It only costs credits, apparently. So it's pretty accessible as well. Yeah. I mean, you do have to get to tier 8 to get it, though, which is not going to be very easy. But it's really
I'm looking at the ability cooldown and then the daze duration, and it's just... Yeah, it's like under the Sage situation, right? Where you use your skill, by the time it wears off, in 0.2 seconds is up again. It's just...
Yep. Well, all you need... Yeah, exactly. All you need is a cooldown or a duration implant, and then there you go. You're able to just keep someone locked forever without them ever being able to move. It's,
absolutely ridiculous.
You will dislike this thing a lot. If you ever run into certain people who use it like that, you'll quickly find a new least favorite mech.
Yeah, that sounds pretty disgusting. Not looking forward to that. Now, my last pick, to be fair, still... Oh, God. You know what, man? I could throw Panther in the mix. I could throw Killshot in the mix. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make the pick. I think my actual pick would probably be Panther. But I am curious to see what you think of Killshot.
I mean, Killshot, you essentially just replace it with Nomad, right? So there's kind of no point.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in terms of dash mechs...
I use Killshot. I use Killshot, and it was like... I used it for like 2 weeks. Or something. Yeah. Before I start to feel like, wow, I feel just as squishy as I did on Killshot as I did on like Slingshot, you know? Like, I feel like I'm just dying instantly every time.
Well, that's what it is. It's just a Slingshot with updated stats to fit the kind of, tier that it's in, essentially. Yeah, so, when you first get Slingshot, it's basically the feeling that you get when you first get Killshot. And it falls off about just as fast as well. Just at like 1 or 2 tiers down the line. It is very good. I do recommend a lot of people to get it, quite honestly, because it's the best fast mech that you're going to get. Up until tier 6, Killshot is it's the fastest mech just in general. Killshot and Slingshot are tied, but they're like, including the ability, including the cooldown, the dash distance, everything, including everything. It is the fastest mech just period. And so it's really good for opening up with in terms of like grabbing beacons or what have you. But I agree, Panther's better. The indestructible barrier is just very, very nice.
Right, the impervious barrier is actually so obnoxious to deal with, man. Oh my god.
Exactly.
Stasis effect too, just making it pretty good against like whether it's close range or not. You get stuck in like a brawl situation, it can still offer value with super close range too. Bulk people out. I haven't actually used Panther anywhere near as much as I should, to be honest. Mostly because I banned myself from using air coins until I save up for the big guys that you're covering. With your pick.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. That's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
The stasis can be helpful, mostly against anything that doesn't have like a dash. Anything that's already kind of slow, it can really, really keep them from getting in there. But yeah, in general, it's a very nice ability to have. You will see some of these in like the absolute topmost meta, just because Invincible Barrier is very, very good. It's more of a support role. You're not going to be using it up front, obviously. It's labeled as an attacker, but it's absolutely not an aggressive mech for sure. It's even more passive than Aegis, to be honest. But it can be used very effectively. The durations of the ability is pretty long. The cooldown is not too bad. And, there's only a few weapons that can really get over that barrier ability that are super useful. Like, Aegis has the overhead protection, Panther doesn't. But how many weapons do you really have to worry about for the overhead protection? It's not very often. Yeah,
so buy both Killshot and Panther, but expect them both to fall off, but maybe Panther would have a bit more longevity, I guess.
Between the two, yeah, Panther would have more longevity between the two.
All right. I think it's your final pick.
It
are we done? Or is it your final pick? Okay.
This is my final pick, yeah. And mine is going to be Orion. This is the most. It's. I want you to. I don't. Do you have this? I don't think you have it, right?
I do, man. Storm Missile Wreck Orion, dude.
Okay. Then you understand how disgusting it is in terms of firepower.
Yeah.
Including the ability, it has the most firepower in the game. Period. And it'll probably stay like that for a very long time. It has a shield pierce built into the ability, which means that even mods, you can get through them very effectively. You could use even sniper weapons like Railgun EM Rifle, which do very poorly against mods. You can use them on an Orion and still get one-hit kills if you're lucky. It's just ridiculous. The downside, of course, is just the fact that, again, it requires a target lock, which means that it's not going to be super effective against a Surge or an Eclipse or anything with stealth. And the base stats, especially the HP, is very, very low, so you have to be very careful with it. But so long as you use good firepower weapons, especially burst firepower, which require the least amount of exposure time, it's just some nasty damage output. And this is a mech that I would fully consider a must-have in Tier 6. Better than Panther, better than Aegis, probably, in full honesty. It is what I would call an anti-pay-to-win mech, because in most regards, it's just going to completely erase any stat or HP or firepower advantage that they have. It's just gone, because you now have just the most... They're so weak that they'll die to almost anything, and your teammates can take advantage of it as well. But it's just like a targeted thing. But it's super, super effective, as well as the stasis effect when you first apply it on an enemy. It's 3 seconds, I believe, of stasis time. And if you get unlucky and you miss your ability, then you get this little tiny cooldown time. It's super forgiving, and it just has so much benefit to it that I consider it one of those things that is really going to come in handy if you want to take care of certain enemies that are causing you problems.
I'll tell you what, I've had a hell of a lot of fun on I don't run it this way normally, but I just had to try it out, because I started off my account with a promo link that can be a couple of EM rifles. The EM Rifle 6s, And so even though they're like a little bit, like, wasting a little bit of energy, whatever, like, oh my god, dude. Just deleting people from across the map, even with EM Rifle 6s, it was fun times, But yeah, the Storm Wrecks are what I typically use it with. This feels really, really good. Like you said, it's just a whale killer, That's how it feels to me, so.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's basically nothing that's going to survive it, that amount of firepower, unless they have an ability that either prevents you from marking them or, like, Parasite, just completely redirects it and you kill yourself.
That's good to know then, man. It's good to know that I've got that guy in the hangar already, and I'll work on ranking him up eventually one day. It's good to know that I've got one who's worth it.
It's one of those mechs that's, like, I guess similar to Panther and Aegis as well. It's one of those free-to-play mechs that you might not use forever. It's not the best pick for the job, obviously, but in terms of free-to-play options, it is one of your better options. And even for late game, but especially when you're in Tier 6. This is the first one that I went for. Out of all the mechs in Tier 6, this is the first thing I got because I absolutely knew what it was going to be capable of on my free-to-play account. The Sentinel costs credits, but it's really bad, so I didn't bother getting it. And it's been a long-time favorite mech of mine, to be honest.
Yeah, he's badass as hell, man. Yeah, I didn't even get the Sentinel myself, actually, in the end. I just looked at that shield health, I was like, what the hell, dude? 25k health shield when you first buy it? That's like nothing, dude. Like a slingshot charge could... Not really, but you know what I mean? That's like nothing, man.
Aegis really spoils you, I'll be honest. It does not scale up from Aegis. No. It really doesn't. Like even Bastion, legendary tank, its shield durability at max is 60,000. It's not that much. It'll die to almost anything. The shield will go down to almost anything. Any of these other mechs with shield abilities, they go down really quickly, except for Blockhorn. Blockhorn is essentially the late game Aegis.
Okay. Noted, man, noted. Yeah. I've enjoyed doing this video, particularly because you give me a lot of things to actually aim for now on my account, man. So I do appreciate that, man.
No worries. Yeah, I mean, once again, guys, we did weapons over on Cobb's channel. Make sure you go check that out. Subscribe to his channel if you like what you see. The video link will be right here, as well as in the description if you want to go check it out. Otherwise, yeah, that will be it for both of us. Appreciate y'all. Take care.